Prayer is the thing that fuels me. Prayer is the thing that fuels our teams. Prayer is the thing that fuels our mission. Prayer is the thing that fuels our strategy. Prayer is what fuels my family. I don't have it in me. I need God. And you know, I remember very early on at A21, I went up to Thessaloniki, and there was many girls in one of the shelters at the time that we were running there. And it was devastating because one girl was telling me a story of how she had been shipped from North Africa across to Istanbul in a shipping container with 60 girls. And the oxygen system broke in that shipping container. When they opened the container, 30 of those girls had suffocated to death. Just try to fathom the trauma of living through that. And then when that container was opened in Istanbul, men, traffickers in law enforcement uniforms took the girls, raped them multiple times a day, locked them in tiny little apartments, very little food, very little water, totally broke them down, took all of their paperwork, passports, papers, and then put them on a little boat to go from the Turkish coast across to Athens to be sold into a brothel. And the Greek Coast Guard was coming through the waters while this little boat had 30 of these traffic victims on it. And so that the traffickers wouldn't get caught with the girls, they threw the girls overboard. And of those 30 girls, 25 died because they couldn't swim. They were from villages. They'd never even seen the ocean. The other 5 were sold into a brothel in Athens, and law enforcement conducted a raid, and then we ended up with those girls in our aftercare program. And she was telling me this story. I couldn't even believe that I was hearing something so real in the 21st century, like this is really happening. And next to her was a girl that had recently been rescued, and she was from Georgia at the time, a region up there in Eastern Europe. And she, you know, when the girls are first rescued, they don't know. When they come into one of the freedom centers or one of the shelters, they don't know whether we're traffickers or whether we're the good guys or the bad guys, because they've just been lied to and taken from one place to another. And so they're very standoffish, understandably. And she says to me in a very, she was obviously very scared and very angry. And in very broken Greek, she yells at me across the room and she says, "What are you doing here?" And I began to tell her. And, you know, I began to tell her about a God that loves her and what Jesus had done in my own life, and that God had redeemed me and that God had rescued me, and that I came from a background of abuse and abandonment and adoption, and that Jesus Christ had come into my life and delivered me and saved me and freed me and gave me a life beyond my past and a hope and a future and a purpose, and that He's a God of love and a God of grace and a God of mercy and a God of forgiveness. And as I was telling her all of these wonderful things about God, I just remember her stopping and yelling at me across the room. And she's like, "Stop, stop, stop talking." I'll never forget it. She said, "Stop talking." And then she said to me, "If what you are telling me about your God is true, then why didn't you come sooner?" And when she said those words to me, "Why didn't you come sooner?" when people ask me 15 years later, "Christine, what is it that keeps you motivated in the fight against slavery?" It's that phrase, "Why didn't you come sooner?" If what we profess to be true about our God is true, then why are we not going sooner? What is more important? I remember looking at her, tears streaming down my face. And I said to her, I've got no good reason. I don't know what I thought was going on that's more important than coming and helping a lost and a broken humanity. And I remember saying to her, "Honey, I don't know, but I promise you this, from now until the day I die, I will tell everyone everywhere that you exist, and we will do whatever we can do to come and find you and come and rescue you and come and help you and come and restore you." And I was thinking, if you've ever seen the movie Schindler's List, there's that one scene, and of course he was Oskar Schindler, that had rescued so many Jewish people during the Holocaust in his factories. And they went to give him an award after the whole war was ended, an award for all of the Jewish people that he rescued. And he was so embarrassed he didn't want to receive it because he knew he could have done so much more. All these people thought he was doing, and he knew he could have done so much more. And there was that one scene. And I call that girl saying to me, "Christine, why didn't you come sooner?" That is my Schindler's List moment. Because there's this one scene, they went to give him an award and he took off his ring and he said, no, I don't want an award. This ring could have saved 10 more people. This car could have saved 100 more people. And I think sometimes we're going to stand before God on Judgment Day and we're going to say, man, we got so caught up on the latest upgrade on our phone, on signing up for, whatever, the next thing. And we're going to get an understanding that there are people literally dying on this earth. People literally that do not have food or water. People that literally are dying in systems of injustice, are broken and hurting. And we are so obsessed with everything else, and we're going to get there and suddenly go, I could have done so much more. Jesus, you put me on this earth and you filled me with your Spirit. And you gave me gifts and talents for the purpose of serving this generation. And I got so caught up with everything else. And in that moment when I looked at that girl and I said, I can't think of one thing that actually would make any sense in this moment. And I remember saying to the Lord, I'm never going to be in that place again. I'm never going to be in that place again. So I wonder, if we prayed more, would we go more to help people? If we prayed more, would our hearts so change that we would do more to help people? If we prayed more, would we actually want to give more? I think the sign that we are a prayerless people is the fact that we do so little for people. Because you cannot be in communion with a God of the universe and not have a heart for a broken and a lost world. And the fact is that it seemed that God knew what he was doing when he directed us to start our work at A21 in Thessaloniki, because we truly saw so many signs and wonders and miracles. And I've seen God every step of our expansion and our growth over the last 15 years has been undergirded by prayer. Everything that we do with Propel, everything that we do with Equip and Empower. Nick and I, as a husband and wife, with our daughters, prayer undergird, not it's some kind of religious obligation, but communion and connection with God. It fuels everything that we do. You know, we have a three-pronged approach in the fight to abolish slavery at A21, and that's to reach the vulnerable. That's our prevention and awareness and education programs. It's to rescue the victims, and that's the work that we do with law enforcement and local authorities around the world, and to restore the survivor, where we provide professional aftercare and holistic programs. And we're seeing rescues somewhere in the world literally every day, and many perpetrators are being brought to justice around the world. But the truth is that right from the beginning, I knew that I was in over my head in this whole deal. I literally had no idea what I was getting into. And the whole thing is so much bigger than me. The thing of which I am a part is so much bigger than any part that I play. And so I've been desperate from day one because it's so big. Can I just tell you, desperation is a gift. Because you know then that you don't have what it's take. When you know that you're not smart enough or talented enough or educated enough or resourced enough or connected enough, you know you need God. So we were down on our knees from day one, and we continue to be down on our knees every day. When people say, Chris, what is the real secret to your ministry, whether it's A21 or Propel, Equip and Empower, it's that I've never lost my desperation for God and his guidance. Prayer is the thing that fuels me. Prayer is the thing that fuels our teams. Prayer is the thing that fuels our mission. Prayer is the thing that fuels our strategy. Prayer is what fuels my family. I don't have it in me. I need God. Desperation keeps you on your knees. And I'm wondering whether perhaps the church is just not desperate enough. Because we live in a realm where we could control everything, where everything is comfortable and easy. But prayer, you know that God is so stretching you out of your comfort zone, only God can make this thing work. I feel that's where I live. You know, prayer is what keeps us unified across 15 countries, 15 cultures, 15 languages, different denominations across our entire work. Prayer is the thing that helps us to keep God's compassion for the enslaved. I couldn't do this myself. My heart would not be able to cope. God helps me to keep that. Prayer is the driving force. Prayer helps me to deal with discouragement. Prayer is what helps me deal with disappointment. Prayer is what helps me when I'm disillusioned. Prayer reminds us that we don't have to carry nor be crushed by the burden of this injustice. My shoulders are not broad enough to carry this by myself. I have to put it on the shoulders of the one that bore the burden of this at Calvary. That's what prayer does. It says, God, I can't carry it. I have to give it back to you. Prayer reminds us that God is God and we are not. Prayer is what helps me keep my faith, my hope, and my love alive. Prayer is not an add-on to the work of justice. It actually undergirds the work of justice. Prayer is what motivates us to do the work of justice. Prayer is what sustains us in the work of justice. Prayer and justice are not two antithetical things. They're two sides of the same coin. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. I hope you'll share your thoughts in the comments, and if you feel led, please share this video with a friend who needs to see it. Thanks so much for watching.